Belief in witchcraft is universal. It has both negative and positive responses. In a neutral sense, witchcraft is sorcery, the magical manipulation of forces by casting spells and conjuring or invoking spirits. It has been used by humankind since prehistoric times in an effort to control the environment and enhance daily life. Throughout history, witches have been feared because they were believed to be evil, in consort with the devil, and able to fly through the night on a broomstick and shape-shift into magical creatures. The same women who were sought after, healers, midwives, the wise women and crones, for help were the ones who were also feared for their knowledge. In truth, witches are in tune with nature and with themselves. They are men and women who are dark and light, day and night, healer and justice all in one. To be a witch is to be a keeper of balance, the essential witch.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to The Essential Witch. I am your host, Ravenwings, and tonight we are going to talk about candle magic. And with that, I like to begin with a bit of history behind candle magic. Candle magic has been around since the dawn of time. They have traced it as far back as the Paleolithic era. It's a very popular form of sympathetic magic. I can speak, I swear. Before the 1850s, there were no candles made of paraffin wax at all. Paraffin wax was not distilled until around the 1930s. And colored candles have only been common since the 1950s. Before that, most candles were either white or off-white. It was possible to use carbon or lamp oil to create black candles. So those were typically the colors you had to deal with. The dyes to color wax had to be oil soluble, or it was only available from limited sources. Plant-based colorants were rare and were only able to color wax in red, orange, yellow, or green. Pigment dyes are extremely fine ground minerals and had to be so finely ground that they weren't used until the 19th century. Aniline, this was only available in the 19th century, and prior to the 16th century, most candles were made of animal fats. Only the wealthy could afford beeswax candles. Candles were used in Egypt and Crete as early as 3000 BC, and were a feature of worship in many pre-Christian societies. Practitioners of hoodoo, voodoo, Wicca, New Age, and other faiths also used candles ritualistically. The Jewish used candles traditionally in ceremonies, but not magically. Instead, they used them for symbolism. Candle magic is one of the simplest forms of spell casting, and it's considered sympathetic magic, like I said before. And it's a method which doesn't require a fancy ritual. As a child, most of us will remember blowing out the candles on our birthday cake and making a wish. That's a form of candle magic. The size and shape of the candle is not of great importance. Neither is the color of the candle, because as I stated before, not until the 1950s did those color candles become widely available. There are some rules to using candles in spells, however. The most important one is that your candle have not been used before. You always want to start with a fresh candle. You don't want to use reuse candles in spells. The candle that has been lit and used, even if it's just to light a room, has energies and intentions already attached to it, and it's not usable or suitable for spell use. Candle magic is probably one of the simplest forms of magic if you're going to get started in the world of magic. You need nothing but the candle and fire to light it with. Candle magic can also be seen to be complete within itself. As the body of the candle is made up of the elements of earth, air, and water. To complete, you need fire and spirit. Fire is easy, and spirit can be represented by the wick of the candle, as the wick is where the potential of the candle lies, and it will be unfolded with. With the candle lit, the flame of your intent will burn. Some candle magic has to be repeated over a period of days. Therefore, you will want to place them in an area that is not going to get disturbed. Don't choose a place where there's a TV or radio or disturbances of any kind. Keep in mind not to put candles near curtains and such, as you would not want to burn your house down. Candle magic should always be performed in low traffic areas. That is why the bedroom is really a nice place to work if you're going to work in the bedroom. You can charge your candles with a quartz crystal, or you can place your candle on a pentagram or a pentacle, whichever you prefer to call it. You can write what your desire is on a piece of paper and place it under the candle, or burn it with the flame of the candle. You can anoint your candle with specific oils. You can place herbs around or on your candle to help achieve your desires. There are many different ways to do candle magic. You can use a candle as a method of scrying as well. I'm going to cover a few of the many different forms of candle magic tonight, as well as colors and anointing oils if you prefer to do colors, because some people do prefer to do colors. Sometimes it's helpful and easier to concentrate if you're using, a particular goal using that color. So, candle scrying. This is called stereoscopy. It's a form of scrying using the wax. The wax was melted into a brass vessel until it became a liquid of uniform consistence, and then the liquid wax is then poured very slowly into another vessel filled with cold water. And the pouring is done in a way that the wax congeals into tiny little discs upon the surface of the water, and the diviner then interprets the figures of the wax in the water. Scrying by reading wax images also goes to candle scrying when you read the drippings of a candle that have developed over the side of a candle onto a candlestick holder as well. Fire and candle gazing, these are the types of scrying that's actually fun and doesn't need to, you don't need the sanctity of a temple to do this in. You can use these methods wherever there is a fire or candle about. For fire gazing, it's in the embers near the end of the fire that you want to focus on. The colors of the embers oftentimes swirl with meaning, so if you keep yourself open to them. You want to clear and focus your mind on nothing in particular, just keep it open to the symbols as they pass through the coals. You want to empty all your thoughts and gaze upon flames to be open to psychic messages that transpire. Procedure is the same as you do with all reflecting objects. You want to clear your mind of thoughts and listen and see with your inner self. You want to awaken your perceptive power and open the world to see what's next. And visions will come to you, and if you're receptive to them, let them speak to you. Another form of candle magic is smoke scrying. Smoke scrying is a technique that can be quite useful and can be added to your Samhain celebrations. If you lower the lights in a room, or better yet, light 2 pillar candles on either side of you, taking your favorite candle, light and then snuff it out, allowing it to smoke for a few moments. If you position a black mirror so that the smoke dances over the surface easily while the mirror lies on a table, and then once the candle has smoked for a few moments, close your eyes to relax. When you feel centered and grounded and relaxed, you look into the black mirror laying on the table from various angles and watch and interpret the images you see, hear, and smell and feel. But beginning any spells with candles, it's important to read your flame. When you first begin reading candles, it's important to remember that not everything is necessarily a sign. You have to take certain things into consideration, such as, a badly made candle, is there a wind or a draft where you're burning your candle, stuff like that. These things will affect how a candle may burn as well. Now, the signs in the flame. A strong or a high flame, that means the spell is working in your favor and you have good chances of success. A weak flame can mean the spell may have a weak start. So if it increases in size as your candle continues to burn, it may indicate that your spell is gaining power. Or it may indicate that patience is needed in your request, and to see the results you may want to take time and more effort on your part as well. A flame that keeps sputtering, going up and down repeatedly, there may be forces working against you. You may have to put more energy into what you are doing, or light an assisting candle. If you're doing work against someone, they may be working against you as well. Puffs of white smoke being released is generally seen as a good sign that your request or desire will be granted. If you have called upon a deity, it may also mean that you have their blessing. Puffs of black smoke being released, this usually means that you're fighting some sort of energy that is interfering with what you're working towards. It could be a spirit, another practitioner, etc., a bunch of different things. or that you are releasing or fighting negativity. A flame that puts itself out. More work is needed to be done. Your desire may not be granted soon, and you need to put more work or energy into it. If you have called upon a deity to assist you, they may not agree with what you are asking for or working for at this point in time. A flame that relights itself. Your work is not done. If you called upon a deity or a spirit to assist you, it may still be putting energy into your request. The wick builds in a large ball of soot. This means your emotions may be scattered. Your work needs to be more clear or focused. A steady flame means your intent is focused and your spell is working on your favor. If the flame dances, this can mean the spirits or energies are fighting for your request, or that there's a lot of energy being put into your working, or your desire is building, and energy and good chances are for success in your work. The candle that cracks or pops. I get this quite a few times. Every time I work with a candle, I get at least one that does that. When a candle crackles or pops, it is believed to be a sign that spirits are present. So you want to pay attention, as they may have a message for you. If you have asked your deity or guide to assist you in your work, it may indicate that they are putting energy into your requests and are working in your favor. The flame, if it splits in two flames, if you have called on a specific deity or spirit, it can mean that they are working alongside you. Depending on the spell, it can indicate a separation or a union. The flame catches something on fire. Obviously, if you have flammable materials too close to the candle, this is dangerous and not a sign, but instead just an unsafe setup. But if your candle, for no apparent reason, catches your altar or something else on fire, it is seen as a sign of a malevolent spirit or a force that may be attacking you and warns of danger to come. There are some old superstitions about candle magic as well, and I'm going to share a few of them with you guys. Always light a candle with your right hand for good fortune. If the candle should go out immediately, however, bad luck will follow. This belief could easily be adapted to a candle spell for luck. Never singe the base of a candle to make it fit firmly. This brings misfortune. So for a ritual and a spell, you might want to, a better idea is to melt wax onto the container and then place the candle within it so it's secure. Allow Yule candles to burn out naturally for blessings and luck. So you could add this idea to your holiday celebrations. Never light 3 candles on one match, or have 3 candles burning together. This brings mishaps. This is one area where magic differs, as 3 is a sacred number to the goddess and represents the triune nature of humankind. You want to give the gift of bayberry candles on New Year's Eve to friends to whom you wish luck, prosperity, and health. Note that they should be burned completely on New Year's Eve for the greatest effect. In money, if you wish to grow rich, never light a candle from a burning fire. Use this as a guideline when working prosperity and money magic as well. For protection, if it's storming outside, light a blessed candle for safety. Most magical practitioners would likely use a white candle for this purpose, as white is a color of protection. Lighting a candle at a child's birth, after death, and on one's birthday affords extra protection from evil. This is a great idea all the way around. At birth ceremonies, the light honors the spirit of the child coming into the world. At death, it shows the spirit the way out and into the next incarnation. And on your birthday, it's a candle that reminds you of your own light, which should always be honored. Some of the signs and omens. A candle that goes out during a ritual indicates the presence of a restless ghost. Actually, I've often found this to be very true. If a spirit shows up at a ritual, it will not, however, be able to enter the sacred circle that you have made without permission. You can use your own discretion there at being aware that not all spirits are nice, nor do, all of them have good intentions. So, in ancient Greece, if a girl could blow out a candle flame and then re-spark it, she was marked as a Vestal virgin. She was given the task of tending the Vestal sacred fires. Vesta is a fantastic goddess for a candle crafter to call upon for blessings on his or her artwork. Candles that burn blue or have wax that forms a winding sheet around the base reveal the presence of spirits. Alternatively, some people consider this a death omen. In magic, watching the flame or watching the wax or the flame of a candle is a common form of divination, and there are tons of meanings associated with flames' movements. If a candle will not light, a storm is coming, and that is actually true because of the dampness in the air. A candle sparkling bright brightens, portends a letter for the person sitting across from it. Accidentally knocking a candle over and having it go out indicates a forthcoming marriage in the family. If a person can revive a sputtering candle, it indicates he or she is ferocious and pure of heart. Seeing a ring in the candle flame indicates engagement or marriage. A lump of soot on the wick of a candle reveals that a stranger will soon visit. Now, some of the wishes. The ritual of blowing out birthday candles may have originated with rites for Artemis. The key is blowing out all of the candles at once. The smoke that follows carries your wishes to the heavens. This is a great bit of wishcraft that works wonderfully just as it is. Remember, however, the silence is the power in this magic, so telling the wish dissipates the energy behind it. Some candle lore and superstitions for you. Using a single taper candle to light 2 other candles will draw bad luck. Lighting a candle from the hearth destines one to poverty. Think of it as stealing power from the fire that maintains the home. 3 candles burning in a group signifies a wedding or are considered unlucky in theater, especially. The superstition comes from the Christian, in which a group of 3 candles were burnt on an altar. Difficulty lighting candles means rain is on the way. Once lit, if the flame sputters, despite there being no detectable draft in the room, wind is on the way with that rain. A candle that gutters and creates a trail of wax foretells a death. A sparkling wick signifies the arrival of a stranger or a letter. A candle left burning until the very end invites misfortune, except on Christmas Eve, when it is traditional to let the candle leave the candle burning to light the way for the coming infant. In the case of Christmas Eve, the fully burnt candle is said to bring prosperity to the household over the following year. An extinguished candle that continues to glow is an omen of hardships to come. Extinguishing a candle by accident foretells a coming marriage. If a girl walks backwards down the steps with a burning candle, she will come face to face with her future love. In America, a candle left to burn in an empty room will cause the death of a relative. A candle that burns blue signals the presence of a ghost or of death in some versions. Smoke from birthday candles send your wishes up to the gods. Candles are lit at births, weddings, and funerals to chase away evil spirits. If a person can revive the sputtering candle, they are considered virtuous and pure of heart, but the French and German are more specific, believing that a sputtering candle can only be revived by a virgin girl. Now I'm going to cover a few of the basics of candle magic, since we got some of the history out of the way and some of the old superstitions and lores and stuff. One of the biggest things is, how do I dress a candle? This is easy. You can use herbal materials to strengthen your work and learn how to apply oils, minerals, and powders. After you have properly carved and marked your candle, if this is what you're going to be doing in your spell, it's time to apply your herbal materials you are using to strengthen the work. And this may consist of 1 or multiple oils, powders, minerals, and or dried herbs. If you're going to use multiple oils on one candle, you want to wash your hands between the applications with a strong alcohol-based perfume like Florida water. Then layer the second oil over the first one you applied to the candle. When you're applying oils, you should understand what your intentions are for the candle that you are using. If you are drawing or removing something, apply the oils using the up or down technique. Some disagree with this, so I'm going to offer 2 of the most common. alternate methods: the middle and out and witch's triangle techniques. If you are manipulating a person or institution, you want to bend over, break, controlling, come to me, commanding, compelling, court case, marriage, money, release. You'll want to employ the twisting method for applying the oil to the candle. The up or down technique, this is used to draw something to you, taking the oil or perfume in your index fingers as you move from the base of the candle to the wick, rotating the candle until it's completely covered in oil. Logically then, dressing the candle downward if you're trying to remove something. A lot of people prefer the middle and out technique. A lot of spiritualists believe you should be dressing a candle in the middle and working upward first until the entire top of the candle is anointed, and then going from the middle downward to the base of the candle. And this way your prayer is sent from the heart of the candle into the universe. And the witch's triangle method, this is one of the old methods you don't often hear about. You begin by dressing the front of the candle at the base, moving from left to right. Then move up the candle to the top on the right side, visualizing one side of a triangle. This should be done in one stroke. Then you go back down to the bottom, pick up your line at the base on the left side, and move upward again towards the top, completing the triangle. Now you can turn the candle over and repeat that on the back side. The twisting method applies you want to apply a fair amount of oil to your palms of your hands, and then rub your hands together, visualizing the target of the candle. Pick up your candle and begin twisting the oil into it using a motion like used to wringing out water out of a towel. Move from the middle outward until the entire candle is covered in oil. You may need to add more oil to your hands to get a good solid coverage. During this process, you want to talk to your target and command them to do as you desire. So you want to really work with intent even as you oil your candle. A good anointing oil is a base of 2 ounces of almond oil, and you can add 5 drops of sandalwood essential oil, 3 drops of frankincense oil, and 1 drop of orange oil. These are all essences, by the way. These are not, the cheap generic stuff. Another good candle anointing oil you can use to the base of 2 ounces of almond or apricot kernel oil. You can add a teaspoon of powdered frankincense resin, a teaspoon of powdered myrrh resin, and then shake it thoroughly and allow it to steep for 1 week before you use it. There is cinnamon anointing oil, and cinnamon is very good for adding oomph to any spell. So you use a base of 2 ounces of almond oil, and then you add 5 drops of cinnamon essential oil and 3 drops of frankincense oil. When you begin to anoint the candle, you can chant or rhyme. As you anoint the candle, meditate upon the purpose for which it was used. You want to visualize the outcome you seek happening and how it will be. You're infusing that candle with the proper energy to manifest your intent by doing it this way. If you're applying herbs to a candle, let's say you've anointed your candle and you're really working this spell and you want to add some herbs to it as well. After you have oiled your candle, you might apply herbs to it, and it's good to do it at this point if you decide to, because you can simply pour your herbs onto a plate and then roll your candle in it, just like you would do an ear of corn with butter. Or you could, if you're doing powders, you can do blowing powders. They are the last material that should be added to a candle. The traditional African means of distributing powders is to blow them. So there's a couple of very good reasons to blow the powder onto the candle as well. First, blowing provides a very even coverage and limits wasting expensive materials. And secondly, your breath has a strong spiritual symbolism to it, so blowing on the candle makes it come alive. This is particularly effective method for candles representing people. So if you're using your candle for sympathetic magic on a person, then you would want to use it this way. When blowing powder, you want to hold the candle by the end in one hand, put a pinch of powder on a spoon, and then slowly rotate the candle while blowing the powder onto it until it's evenly coated. Once your candle has been dressed in herbal materials or powders, whatever you're using, it's time to divide the candle up into sections so that it can be burned over the required number of days. So if you're having to do a spell that's lasting 3 to 5 days, you need to know exactly how far to burn that candle down each day to make it effectively the same each day. For measuring a candle, you can learn how to divide your candle in sections for burning it over a period of days. Not so long ago, if a spiritualist was trying to encourage marriage between a couple, he or she might burn one marriage figural candle one candle a night for 9 nights. But if the client didn't have much money and the work really needed to be done, the spiritualist would divide the candle up into 9 sections so that it would have 9 days of burning. Figural candles have always been expensive, so any molded candle is difficult to produce. So with today's rising petroleum prices, wax is more expensive, and as the transportation to ship these candles from points from all over the world. Measuring your candle is the traditional term for dividing a candle into a predetermined number of sections by inserting needles or pins into the wax. This is an actual practice that became the legend of voodoo dolls in New Orleans. Reporters, not comprehending what they were seeing, made the assumption that needles were inserted into a wax figure were for doing it harm, when in actuality the figures were being measured for work. Now, how to measure the candle. Dividing your candle up into sections is easy. You might measure the length of the candle with a ruler and divide it by the number of sections you need. But you're setting yourself up to deal with fractions of inches, so it's too tough of a job. The sections don't have to be exactly even to the centimeter. If they look evenly spaced to the eye, then you've finished it. It's a good enough job. A needle or pin should be inserted right at the point of where the wick sprouts out of the wax. If you are doing drawing work, this is the last needle inserted because you insert them from the bottom to the top of the candle. If you're removing, the wick needle is the first to be placed, and it goes opposite down to the bottom. Remember that it takes an even number of needles or pins to make an odd number of sections. However, we always want to work with an odd number. This is why the needle is inserted in the wick and it's called breaking the eye of a needle. Needles or pins, doesn't matter which ones I use. It doesn't matter. If you use needles or sewing pins, many sewing pins have plastic balls on the tips, so they're easier to push into the wax. For love work, you want to pick out all of the red cap pins from a package of multicolored ones. You might use all green for money work or yellow for success, etc. You can actually, go with the colors in your pins as well as your candle. For love work, ideally use needles for works designed to remove bad luck, crossed condition, hexes, jinxes, and witchcraft. They're also used in protection work as well. And many folks from the South and the Caribbean break the eye of the needle when they are working on or against another spiritual person. The belief being that the worker and their actions are spiritually obscured from the enemy. So a broken eye makes it more difficult for the target to find out who is causing the problems via a reading or a spiritual connection. Needles with broken eyes are used for breakups, confusion, crossing, revenge, and reversal spells. They may also be used for uncrossing or protecting when a spiritualist feels it's better for the client's enemies not to know they have sought them out for help with this condition. The next question a lot of people will ask is, do I burn this measured candle in a special way? Well, when you're burning a measured candle, you want to allow the first needle at the wick to fall out. It's going to fall out, so don't worry about it. And then you let the candle burn to a point right above the second needle. It's important that you, whether it's praying or meditating, for the entire time on that candle while it's lit, you want to work that spell, you want to work that intention into that burning candle. Each day you burn through one needle, allowing the needle to fall up to the next, and then, up to the next needle. I want to give you a few of the color correspondence for Candle Magick. I myself tend to stick with white because it's such a universal candle, and they're cheap. So, and they work. As long as you put the intent into them, they work. But I know a lot of people find that it's easier to focus if they use colors to go with it. So, when it comes to colors, you may want to have a variety on hand for different magical purposes. So typically colors correspondence for Candle Magick I'm going to give you. In a pinch, crayons will burn for a half an hour. So if you have a crayon, you can even use a crayon. So But red is for courage, health, sexual love, and lust. Pink is used for friendship and sweet love. Orange is great for attraction and encouragement. Gold works really well for financial gains, business endeavors, solar connections, if you're doing some kind of solar magic. Yellow, great for persuasion and protection. So protection is white, but yellow works just as well. Green, of course, for financial gains, abundance, fertility, that sort of thing. Light blue is used for health, patience, and understanding. Dark blue is great for depression and vulnerability. Purple is used for ambition and power. Brown is earth-related. It's also great to use if you're doing any kind of animal workings, related workings. So if you're trying to do a healing spell for an animal, you can use brown. You don't have to just use, light blue or green or something like that. You can actually use a brown one because it's specifically used for animals or anything earth-related. Black for negativity and banishment. And that does not mean that if, oh my God, she's lighting a black candle, she's, trying to banish somebody. No, that does not necessarily mean that I'm trying to banish somebody. It's just used for negativity. If you're trying to ward off negativity and you have a lot of negativity going on in your life, a black candle is good for that. White, purity and truth. And silver is good for reflection, intuition, and lunar connections. And like I said before, if you have a white candle that you want to use for a power spell or a job spell or even a negativity spell, by all means use the white candle. White candles have been around a lot longer than colored candles have been. So, you can go with the white candle. It really, really won't hurt anything. Many pagan traditions find it acceptable to use white candles in place of any other color. So, and you can use these candles even as representations on your altar. You can use them for representations of your god or goddess. You can use them to represent fire. And like I said before in the beginning of this, your candle is your earth, air, water, and then the fire that lights it becomes fire, and then the smoke is your spirit. So it has all of the components that you need to do just any one spell. So if you want to use it on your altar to depict everything that you want to have on your altar, you can have an altar of just candles. So if you wanted to do something like that, it's quite all right. You can do things like that. You'll also find that including color and herbs and oils, moon phases, all that stuff. With Candle Magick, you can make it as simple as or as complex as you want it to be. You don't have to. You can create a big ritual to go with your Candle Magick, but you don't have to. Candle Magick alone can be used without having to do the whole big thing. However, if that's something that you do want to do, by all means, then, throw together a big ritual, It's always going to be, it can be as simple as or complex as you desire, but it's always going to be your intent. Try it, you could try it tonight. You could light a candle tonight, and with the thought or intent in mind. And then you could look at the flame as it burns. You can watch how it reacts. You can see how you feel around it. You just created magic just by doing that. So you can just sit back, relax, and enjoy it. And watch it go. So it doesn't have to be this whole big thing. It really doesn't. Just lighting a candle alone can be enough to just be a spell on its own. So I've gone over some of the history and lore and stuff like that about Candle Magick. Different types of colors, what they're used for, stuff like that. It is one of the most popular ways to cast a spell. They come in lots of colors. You can be made with natural waxes or soy or beeswax. Inexpensive candles are obviously made with paraffin wax and are much less expensive than your natural wax candles. However, they're thought to be less magically powerful than natural waxes, but I still say it's more intent than anything else. When you're going to do a spell, basic candle spell or whatever, you want to choose your appropriate color candle if you're going to use a colored candle. And if you're in doubt, use white. White can be used as any substitute for any color. You want to burn the candle in one sitting unless it's designed to go over a period of days, and we talked about that with the pins. You want to charge your candle before you use it. You can carve the candle with signs into your candle. They can be a name of a person the magic is being performed for. They can be astrological symbols, runes, numbers, dates, whatever it is you want to carve into that candle that coincides with the spell that you're trying to work. Carve that into your candle. Dress the candle with oil, and we went over different ways that you can dress your candle with oil, and then rub it in the herbs if you're going to use the herbs, or blow the powders onto it. Once you've completed your spell, you don't want to reuse that candle. So if you don't burn it all the way down to the bottom and you feel you've burnt it to where it needs to be and your spell is done, bury it outside in the earth or place it in a river, lake, or stream so that you don't use it again, because that intent is in that candle. And if you try to use it for something else, you're using it for a protection spell here and you're like, oh, well, I'm going to go over here and use it for a healing spell. It's just not going to work the way you want it to. I did talk about colors of candles. I did want to go over a little bit about the figure candles and what they can be used for as well. Cats. They're normally black for returning hexes, baneful energy, and evil intent. It's to return it back. A green cat can be used for good luck or money, and a red cat can be used for sex and romance. And of course, white cat can be universal. A cross or a crucifix. These are altar candles and used for altar candles and uncrossing rituals. So just because you're a witch does not necessarily mean that, you will shy away and catch on fire if there's a cross or a crucifix near you. I am prime example number one. I have 2 pentagrams and a crucifix tattooed, and I haven't burned up yet, so I think you'll be pretty safe. Devil candles. If you use a green one, they're good for fast cash and having debts repaid. A red one is good for sex spells, and a black one is good for domination spells. So if you're trying to dominate a situation, that would be a good candle to use. Human figures can be used to represent either yourself or a person you're doing the spell for. You can coordinate the color with the purpose of the spell or the person the candle is meant to represent. Couple candles. A single candle representing a man and a woman standing side by side. These are usually used for marital bindings and love spells. The loving couple candle, which is a single candle depicting a naked man and woman embracing. These are good for use in romantic and binding spells. A divorce candle, a single candle depicting a co-joined man and woman standing back to back. These are great for your divorce and separation spells. Skull candles. White skulls for persuasion, communication, and uncrossing. Black for domination, hexing, and spell reversals. A witch candle, an actual witch candle. This is great for love and luck and reversing spells, and to receive the blessings of a witch. Now, anybody who's familiar with candles would know what a 7-knob candle is. It is just this candle with it looks like 7 knobs just hooked together. Sometimes they're multicolored, sometimes they're one color. You use a 7-knob candle, you burn 1 knob every 24 hours, taking 7 days to completely burn that candle. Black is used for preventing and eliminating conflicts and banishing. Red is for romance and emotional issues. And green for employment, luck, and finances. Double action candles have 2 colors. They're usually either red or black or green and black. It's one column of color on top of another. Burn these to increase beneficial forces and to dispel baneful energies. Triple action candles have 3 layers of color. Same thing. Reverse action candles are red candles coated with a layer of black wax. Use this to reverse baneful spells and to send them back where they came from. 7-day candles, obviously, the name says it all. These are designed to burn for 7 days. They come in many different colors and are usually encased in a glass sleeve. Many can be used for any purpose. You can use them for any purpose. Dress and bless the 7-day candle because, they usually don't come out of the sleeves, so you can drill holes in the top of the candle and insert oil if you like, and then sprinkle the top with herbs or glitter. whichever you want to use. The sleeves of the 7-day candles normally have a special design on the glass, which could just depict a spirit or a saint. The candle color inside will coordinate with that spirit. Other sleeve designs coordinate with the goal of a spell, like gambling or luck or uncrossing, that type of thing. And some of the decorated sleeves are a spell in themselves, with a prayer or a petition printed on the glass itself. You can create your own 7-day candle dedicated to the spell or spirit that you're working with if you'd like. You can obtain a 7-day candle in the color of your choice inside a clear, undecorated sleeve, and attach your own image to the candle with glass glue, and decorate it with glitter glue, spell enchanting objects, whatever you find appropriate, for what you're working for. I did go over a little bit of flame divination earlier, but just to cover it again before we close for the night. A bright, steady flame is also known to be auspicious. Candle that burns brightly and burns down quickly means that the magical forces are with you. Candle that burns slowly with a struggling flame, this means the spell is working against an opposition. The flame shoots really high, that could mean that the spirit you have invoked is present. A very low and dim flame may indicate the presence of a ghost around you. And like I said before, your candle wax divination, you can look for patterns of ash and wax that remain. That might give you a divine special meaning, and people do that by, dropping the wax in water, or just reading the candle wax that comes off of the candle and lands on the candle holder. So there are many different ways you can do candle magic, but it is one of the simplest and easiest forms of magic. So if this is something you're new to, the pagan ways and magic and all that wonderful stuff, this is a great place to start. Candle magic is very easy. You can find all kinds of stuff on the internet about it, and the spells are very easy. You don't have to do the whole elaborate, I gotta cast a circle and call the corners and wear this outfit and set an altar, and no, all you gotta do is light a candle and make sure your intent is there. It's totally up to you if you want to dress it. It's totally up to you how you want to dress it, but now you have a few ideas on different ways you can. So hopefully that helps everybody with their candle magic. And as always, be very careful with your candles. Don't, leave them unattended or put them too close to the curtains, or, set your house on fire, because that kind of defeats the purpose of doing magic. Now you need to do a new candle spell to replace the house that you just burnt to the ground. So yeah, no, not a good thing. So always be careful. Fire is dangerous, so be very careful when you're playing with fire. So, but that is my show for tonight. Thank you all for hanging out. Have a good week and a good weekend. Bye-bye.